So in this video, we are learning how to use a present value table. Now, before we go straight into using the actual table, we want to first understand what we actually mean by this idea of present value. Now, to do this, I've got a graph. So I have a time axis, that's what this T stands for, and I just have a money axis on the vertical. Now, what we're going to try to do is we are going to understand and try to graph our future value. Okay, so imagine we're investing a certain amount of time into a certain amount of money into an annuity. Now remember, an annuity is just an investment in which sort of regular payments are made. So we talked about this idea that maybe we start with $0, then say we invest a little bit. This accrues interest over a little bit, then we invest again. That's why we're getting these kind of rapid spikes. So this part here is our investments. I'll actually label this all on in a moment, but we accrue a little bit of interest, then we make another deposit. We accrue a bit of interest, then we make another deposit. And eventually, after a certain amount of time, let's do this in another color, we get some kind of future value. So we get our future value here. Okay, so we have what we started with, and then we got through our annuity to some kind of future value. Now, these kind of vertical points on our graph, these correspond to our deposits. Think back to the future value annuity questions. It's like someone deposits $1,000 at the end of every year, and then the thing just keeps accruing interest. Now, what present value actually is that it says that, say, we wanted to find some amount right now, a present value right now, that if we invested it, we would get to this amount in that same period of time. So the present value, let's do this in another color, is some value, some amount that we invest that if it just sat there without deposits would accrue interest and would get to this future value in the same amount of time. So this is what we mean when we talk about our present value. So I've shown this with these graphs. Our future value graph is the one in blue. So we have our deposits, accrue interest, deposit, get interest, deposit, get interest. Our present value is a value right now. That's what present means, right now, that will get us to that same future value in the same amount of time without making any of the extra deposits. So I've sort of summarized this in the dot point here. Present value is an initial lump sum, so an initial amount that will eventually get to the future value by way of only interest, no extra deposits. So only by that formula basically that we talked about before, future value equals the present value times 1 plus r to the power of n. So only taking into account the present value and then just accruing interest over time, not adding this extra deposit at the very end. So I hope that serves to give you a bit of an insight into what we're actually doing here with our present value tables. But the way we actually work through them is the exact same process that we did with our future value tables. So we want to determine a time period and rate of interest. We want to find the intersection of the time period and the rate in the table. And then we multiply the number in the intersection by the amount of money contributed. So this example just says to use the table to calculate the present value if 9,600 is contributed per year for 7 years at 4% per annum compounded annually. So we're going to find 7 years and 4%, and we have our intersection right here. So to find our present value, all we have to do is we want to take our $9,600 and multiply it by the intersection value. And once we get that, we get that the present value is $57,620.16. This is just an initial early example to get us used to using this present value table. We'll look at a few more examples in the next video, but that brings us to the end of this one. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.